What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Low Kick MMA UFC 250 preview show. I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, and joining me today is Low Kick MMA site manager Jordan Ellis, which I can't say today. How you going, Jordan?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. So UFC 250 is pretty stacked card, like in terms of big names on a card, you know. So I think we're going to go through the whole main card, and we'll just pick up some of the prelims and early prelims to speak about them. But starting her off, we'll go to the main event, which is between the champion, Amanda Nunes, and the number one contender, Felicia Spencer. And this fight is, I think it's a pretty obvious fight how Spencer's got to win this one. She's got to bring it to the ground. She's got to work her ground and pound submissions from there and just spend as little time as she can on the feet. Because on the feet, I feel Nunes definitely has an advantage. And over the 25 minutes, if it's on the feet, she's going to find an opportunity to put her away. What are your thoughts on that, Jordan?
Yeah, just first things first. It's UFC 250. It's a big landmark event, and it's a good card, but it's kind of it's disappointing, and it's just that it seems to be missing that main event, and I don't want to diss the ladies, but Amanda Nunes is a pay-per-view star, but this fight isn't really. I don't think there's going to be too many people happy to pay for this fight. It's because it is like Nunes is a massive favourite in it. So that's just the first thing I'm going to say, because that's the only negative I've got on it, that this card's probably missing, a main event. And but I'm still happy to see Nunes go again, because I do think we're watching history right now. I do think this is the best female fighter ever. So obviously I'm picking her to win. But Spencer is, in a sense, quite lucky that she's in this position for this fight, just because all she's had to do is win one fight against someone who is barely known in the UFC, and she's got since the Cyborg loss, and she's got a title shot. So what this fight hinges on is how good Spencer is. If she's a really good fighter with a potential future champion, I think she can drag it out and make it a tough fight and probably go to the judges and still lose. But I think if she's not what people think she is, then it'll be over quite quick. And I'm just kind of looking forward to getting this fight out the way for Nunes, and kind of seeing her go back to 135, because I think there's quite a few challenges down there who I really fancy seeing a fight. Like, you've got Irene Aldana, she looks a beast. Aspen Ladd, Juliana Pena. So I do think 145 is kind of a dead division now. Cyborg gone, so I don't. It's just it's not the most exciting fight, but it's always exciting to see Nunes. So, but I do expect that it's quite to win it quite easy.
Yeah, one thing to take away from the Felicia Spencer Cyborg fight, in my opinion, was the fact Spencer couldn't take her down. Like, she found it very difficult to get Cyborg on the ground, and if I'm remembering correct, I don't think she got her down at all, maybe once. But Nunes has got the stronger grappling than Cyborg, in my opinion. Like, if you look at their comparative records, Nunes has more control time, more takedowns than Cyborg did, and so I got to assume her takedown defense is as good or better than Cyborg's. And if Felicia Spencer can't get Nunes to the ground, she doesn't have much to offer. She has those big looping taekwondo kicks, but they're not going to put Nunes away. She's not going to get caught by something like that. And her hand skills, I just think Nunes is going to find a counter, or she's just going to throw barrage, throw volume, and she's definitely going to catch her with something and put her away, unless she can get it to the ground.
Yeah, I don't doubt Spencer's tough. I just think this is a bit too much too soon. I think she's about 10 fights into her career. That's it, and one was a loss to Cyborg. So, I'm not throwing any shade at her. I just think that she's fighting the GOAT. The reason why she's I think she's about a 5-1 underdog, 6-1 underdog. So, it's kind of to me it seems like a routine defense. They just need someone to fight her. Nunes wants to fight at 145 right now. Spencer has already beat Megan Anderson, so there you go. Spencer gets the shot. But people were saying, speaking about Holly Holm and things like that, so upsets do happen. And Nunes, she asked for more time to prepare to this fight. I think she's got a baby on the way, so there's a lot going on. She might be distracted, she might not be at her best, and Spencer can get her. And Spencer has shown she's a top fighter. It's just she hasn't shown that she's this level yet, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to watch it. I wish it was a co-main event, not a main event. I wish we had, an absolute monster of a main event, but that's just me being greedy.
I think there's, from memory, like 4 or 5 women's featherweight fighters that I could name. Maybe 4 I could name. There's not much in that division. So what happens after this? Because Felicia Spencer loses, she's going to go back. I guarantee she'll rematch Megan Anderson. Who's Nunes got to fight there? Like, if Felicia Spencer rematches Anderson and wins again, there's no contender,
No. To me, it just seems like it's pointless division, and they've given the belt now, and they don't know what to do with it. So it's just it's a weird one. And, like, ideally, like, they would scrap that division and just. But if she wants to fight at 145, she's the GOAT, really. So she can do whatever she wants to. She's got the belt, she's earned it.
Yeah.
She's willing to defend it. It's just having the people to defend against. And right now, it just seems like Megan Anderson, Felicia Spencer, or no one. And like, that's not a proper division, is it? So
For sure.
it's just, is there even enough 145 like out there? Like, I know Bellator have got a few good fighters there, so there might be a few, but just in one UFC division, there's not enough. So I'm sure they'll keep it to keep Nunes happy, but I'm not really looking forward. I just want her back at 135. There is a few like really good fighters who I want to see her fight at 135.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for them. So hopefully back straight down. She said she's gonna go back and forth. So next one 135, and we'll have a good fight.
I hope that Nunes goes back to 135 and Shevchenko decides to come up and do the trilogy fight between the two of them, because that's the fight I'd be interested to see. Probably my favourite matchup for Nunes if she gets past this one,
Yeah, that's just the fight in MMA, like women's MMA. You just make that every other week if they let you, because they are the obviously the two best fighters by a mile. So obviously there's still a while to go in both their careers. So I think they are just waiting for that trilogy bout, because if Shevchenko loses, it's over, really, isn't it? So it's a massive fight when it happens. But for the time being, I think they're both just going to be cleaning out the divisions, like, and just everyone. It's a few levels between these two girls and the rest of them, and I'm sure they'll be trying their best to catch up. And I guess we'll see how far Spencer's come along and how much she's been able to close the gap since she lost to Cyborg, because there's a lot to do still.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Nunes is having a child sometime in the next year, I'd imagine. So, like, how much longer is she going to fight? She got 2 fights left, or is she going to fight after? Obviously, I don't think she's the one carrying the child. I think it's her partner. Is that right? Yeah, I think it is. Anyway.
Yeah.
I was going to say, she couldn't fight if she was pregnant, but for sure. Anyway, will she fight after she has a kid, or will she just want to take time off to raise her kid, like?
Yeah, well, I think it'll just be like, I don't think it'll be excessive time, but just an extra month or two off. And I was just laughing because you said within the next year when she's already pregnant.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't remember. I was like, are they planning to have a child, or was she already pregnant? And I was like,
no, yeah. So obviously it's just a lot going on, but she's the one bringing all the cash in. So I'm sure she'll want all these big fights before she goes. So I don't think we need to worry too much about her stepping away, because like, I don't think she's made John Jones money yet, but she's doing all right. So yeah, sure. It's just 135, and the fight I want to see is Irene Aldana. I've been watching her for a few fights now, and she's starting to put it all together and look like an absolute beast. On the feet, she looks a beast, and that's the fight that I want to see. She might need to earn it a bit more, but I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So we'll go on to the co-main event, and that is between Rafael Assunção and Cody Garbrandt, and I'll throw it off to you to break out this fight first.
First thing first, Assunção, he gets treated like a gatekeeper, which is I totally disagree. I think he's a top level guy who just hasn't had the chance to be champion. It's a different thing. He's not someone who you beat and then you that's when you know you're legit. He's someone who has beat the likes of Dillashaw, Mariah, Sterling, and Munoz. So he's a top guy. He just hasn't had that title shot to convert it. I think he's a serious fighter, and I don't really like this fight for Garbrandt, mainly because he said he wants to go to 125. He's announced his plan. He's going to 125. So once you've said that, in my mind, why are you sticking around at bantamweight? Like, what's the point? To me, it feels like he wants a free swing, and it doesn't really matter if he loses because he's going back down anyway. which I don't like that attitude. I just think if you can make 125 and you want to make 125 and you're planning to, just go and make it.
Yeah.
That said, I am a big fan of him, and I think he can win this fight. And I don't think it'll take much for him to be a champion again. We've seen him against Dominic Cruz. I love watching him. It's just he just hasn't learned from his mistakes, and hopefully he learns and he comes back and we see vintage Cody, and then he signs off with a win. And I think that's what's going to happen. I am backing him, even though I do love Aston, so I am backing him to win.
So the biggest factor for me in this fight is what's Garbrandt's mental like, because the only person that makes Garbrandt lose fights recently is himself. You know, he gets into that little mindset of going out there and scrapping with people, and the last 2 times it hasn't paid off. I think he's been finished. TJ finished him last time,
Munoz finished him, and then TJ twice. So it's just he hasn't got the greatest chin in the world, but he's at 135, so he doesn't really have to. Like no one's punching that hard, so all he has to do is not walk hooks in a row, and that's just what he hasn't been able to avoid. He just seems to walk into them, and he's just so gung-ho and trying to finish his opponent. But then you seen him against Cruz, and he absolutely beat the brakes off Cruz, and he was so cool, and he's got it in him. It's just he's lost his head the past few fights, so it is a mental thing now.
Yeah, it's the discipline. If he remains disciplined in this matchup, I think he can win definitely, because he's got the more technical striking, in my opinion, and also his grappling might not be as good, but his grappling is good enough that I don't think he's going to find himself getting submitted or taken down and submitted. You know, so he definitely can win this fight. If he loses the fight, I'm predicting it'll be him getting reckless on the feet and getting finished. That's how I see him losing the fight. But if he can remain disciplined, I think this is quite an easy matchup for him, stylistically.
I think at some point he's just got to learn. Like he's got to learn his lesson at some point. And if 3 losses in a row and all knockouts, and obviously he's getting heat. Like anyone who's in online on MMA, Cody Garbrandt's getting heat, and he's a bit of a joke fighter at the minute, which I don't think he is. But everyone is laughing because he's getting caught with the same thing over and over. Yes. So he'll be aware now that the stakes are high and he needs to change, and he's changed camp and he's training with Eddie Alvarez and Frankie Edgar and them guys, and hopefully we see peak Garbrandt, because he's world class. He's a world class fighter, and that's what you want to see. You don't want to see someone getting KO'd when they shouldn't have got KO'd. You know, it's all right when it's a picture perfect punch, but when it's TJ Dillashaw just winding up and hitting you 3 times with the same shot, it's not what you want to see from world class fighters. So I don't love the fight. I think he should just go 125. Now he said it, but we're here now, and I do fancy him to win.
For sure. So moving down the card, we actually have the highest ranked bantamweight bout on the card, which is the matchup between Aljamain Sterling and Cory Sandhagen, which I think is a great fight. Might be a contender for fight of the night on this card, in my opinion. I like this fight. I like both fighters. I think Sterling's going to have to pick his range. Does he want to get real close and try and make it a grappling match? Does he want to work the takedowns to get him to the ground? Or does he want to stay as far away as he can and throw kicks from range and jabs from range to keep him back? Because if he gets to a boxing match with Sandhagen, I think he loses. I don't think his pure boxing is as good as Sandhagen's. So I think he really has to either stay at range or get as close as possible and work takedowns. What do you think?
Just first things first, I want to just say Aljamain's a killer. Like, I think he's hitting his peak now, and I am backing him for the fight, but I do think it's a tough fight. I like it. It's like a 60-40 in his favour, but I just do think he's an absolute killer. I think he's only lost conclusively to Marias. His other 2 are split decisions, and I just think he's got the more variety. He's been around longer. He's had about 10 more fights or something like that, so he's got. He should have the know-how of them fighters who have been looking at for a while, thinking he's ready for a title, he's ready to be champion. It's just obviously his name and his profile isn't big enough, so they're not prepared to give him it. Because right now, he's the guy I think who should be fighting for the title, not Jose Aldo or Peter Yan. I think Aljamain Sterling's the one who deserves the title shot. And Sandhagen, he's just an up-and-comer, and it's more about... I just think it might be a little bit too early for him. I think this is not someone... like a veteran who he can just pick off, who's not getting better. I feel like Sterling's getting better every fight at the minute. So it's a brilliant fight. I think it should be for the belt, and I think it would make this card so much better if it was for the belt as well. So I am interested to see. I do slightly edge Sterling though.
Yeah, so another thing that Sterling's going to have to watch out for, in his last fight against Pedro Munoz, or however you say it. Anyway, in his last bout, when he was throwing his jabs from range and those big looping hooks he was throwing, he was putting his head down and leading with his head. And if he does that against Sandhagen throws that flying knee all the time. He pushes you against the cage and throws a flying knee. So I think it's going to be a big issue for him if he starts doing that and leading with his head. He's going to end up eating a knee. And the other thing to worry about, not to worry about, the other thing he's going to look out for is Sandhagen's striking style. He likes to throw big, long jabs, and he likes to fake his opponents and counter them. And so I think the best thing he can do is take him down. I think he's the better grappler. Sterling's probably the better jiu-jitsu guy as well as wrestler. Sandhagen's good at not getting taken down, but I think Sterling can do it. And if Sterling can do it, it's his fight, Yeah,
that's why I'm not picking it for a fight tonight, because I'm picking Sterling to win. I had imagining that he's going to dominate the wrestler, and it's not going to be the most exciting fight, but it's just Sandhagen, he just seems to be a beast. So, like, I love seeing these young fighters coming, and this is like his acid test. I know he's beat a couple of good guys already, but Sterling is the guy at the minute. So if you can beat him, Sandhagen's your next star at 135. That's my opinion. But I just think just a tiny bit too early. I think he'll get out game planned, out maneuvered, and it'll be a decision win for Sterling, and he'll go and get his title shot, which he has earned, to be fair.
For sure. So we'll move on to the next matchup, which is Neil Magny versus Anthony Rocco Martin at welterweight, and I'll hand this one to you.
Well, first things first, no disrespect to Martin, but I thought Magny was going to get a bigger fight than this. I think he looked sensational against Lee last time. It's Jingling or whatever he's called. He looked brilliant against him. He looked levels above that type of opposition. And then I was thinking, oh, well, maybe he'll get through back in with like the top 10, top 5. But he gets this fight, and no, I'm not. The thing about Magny is there's a way to beat him. I think he's been beat enough times where Martin will be confident going into this that he can go and finish Magny. And I wanted to see Magny fight someone a bit higher up, because I think the longer he fights at that lower level, then he might end up getting caught. But I'm really excited to see Magny. I'm picking him big time in this one. But he is beatable, and we've seen he's beatable. But I'm just edging towards him just because he looked so good in the last fight. I was so impressed by him. I just remember just being on a big Neil Magny thing for about 2 weeks and just thinking, who's he going to fight? And then it just went quiet. And then this pops up. So what do you think?
I'm probably going to take Magny in this. I think he has more ways to win. Anthony Rocco Martin, I looked at his record when I was breaking this one down. Most of his victories are decisions, and other than decisions, he has a couple of submissions. From memory, he doesn't have any knockouts. Maybe he has a few knockouts and finishes. So he's not finishing guys on the feet. And I think Magny's jiu-jitsu is pretty good. I don't think he's going to get submitted. So if it goes to a decision, maybe Rocco gets it. But I think Magny can do it on the feet. He's really explosive, and he throws those combinations, like burst out combinations and whatnot. And he'll take you down and he'll beat you up until you give him a choke. I think he's got more ways to win. So I really don't know how this fight's going to go, but I would probably take Magny on this one. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Magny's for years, but he's never been able to quite put it together. He always runs into someone and gets knocked out or submitted, or he just he's fell at the top, but he's still young. I think he's just in his early 30s. So, and he come back looking sensational last time. He's got a great variety of a game, and I just think if he's gonna be a top guy, which I think he can be, he's gonna win this fight. He's gonna win it quite easy. That's what I'm expecting, either by the judges, or he'll get the finish. But I expect him to dominate. But I think Martin will be confident going into the fight that there's a way to beat this guy. He's not Khabib or anything like that. So he'll be confident. It's UFC 250. He wants to make a name for himself. So yeah, can't wait for that one. I am high on Magny at the minute, but Martin, I'm not ruling him out totally, but I do fancy Magny.
For sure. And so opening the card, probably the biggest name on the card other than the champion, Sean O'Malley, taking on Eddie Wineland, obviously at bantamweight. And this matchup, I think it's a pretty easy matchup for O'Malley. I think it's a good stylistic matchup for him. Wineland gets into brawls and gets finished a lot. He's pretty reckless with his punches. So I think O'Malley's going to be able to stay at range and just piece him up. Pretty much like he did in his last fight to the dude who I'm blanking, Nunes, I think his last name was. But yeah, I think O'Malley's going to keep it range, throw the kicks, find something that drops him and put him away.
I expect the same. I do think Sean O'Malley is the next star in MMA. I do think he's the next big thing. It's just all about if he can keep winning and earn that, like in the actual tag. Because we're on low kick, and every time we post anything about Sean O'Malley, it blows up, and it blows up big time. And he's still a raw novice in the sport, basically, isn't he? So, yeah. I do think he wins this. I think it's a good step at the right time. I think he's it's just about how good he is. Is he good enough to beat all these top guys at 135? Because there's absolute monsters there. And yeah, this is the first one. I expect them to look fantastic. I expect them to get the finish, but this is more of a showcase fight, I think, against someone like Eddie Wineland, who's a former champion. It's made to make O'Malley look. I mean, he's a former title contender, sorry, and it's just made to make O'Malley look good. And I think he will look good, but it's not for me. I'm more worried about the next fight, and the fight after him, so we can see how actually good he is.
For sure. And so I think if I was going to give like a bet for this card, the safest person to put money on in this card, probably Nunes actually. But after Nunes, the safest person is probably O'Malley. I can't see O'Malley losing this.
No, but it's always interesting with these up and comers because he's still young, and he's not speaking like Conor McGregor, who was hell bent on a title shot as soon as he got in the UFC. He's speaking really like he knows his limitations. He's saying, I want to wait for a title shot. I need this amount of time. And I know lately he's been a bit more vocal about wanting a title shot sooner rather than later. But since he's joined the UFC, he's been in no rush. So he's smart, and he knows that this is a tough fight. This is probably his toughest fight to date. So it wouldn't be the biggest surprise ever, because it's never the biggest surprise ever when a prospect loses, but I would be surprised because I do think O'Malley's legit, and I think it's going to be a top guy who beats him, not Eddie Wang, because he's just not at that level anymore.
For sure. So going on to the prelims, we'll just touch on a few of them, starting with the featured prelim of the evening between Alex Casseras and the youngest fighter in the UFC, I'm pretty sure, Chase Hooper. And so this will be Chase Hooper's second fight in the UFC, and coming off that rear naked choke victory in his first, or was it TKO? How do you do it?
I think it might be in TKO.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was stuck in a choke and he got out. That's right. Anyway, second fight in the UFC, big prospect, young guy, and I think this is a good matchup for him. Like, stylistically, in Alex Casseras, not his last fight, the fight before, he fought Crone Gracie. Crone took his back and choked him out, and didn't have much trouble getting his back, didn't have much trouble choking him out. Obviously, Crone's probably a better grappler than Chase, but Chase's grappling's pretty impressive. So I think this goes the same way. I think he's going to take Casseras down, find the back, and choke him out. What do you think?
No, the reason I want to discuss this fight is just because I'm picking Casseras with the upset. I just think I was going through the card and I seen a couple of potential like obviously I like to throw a bit of money about on fight night, and I was looking at who I think might be at a safe, like a good bet, and I think him as an underdog, Casseras, is a good. I think his record doesn't do him justice. I think he's a really good fighter. I think he's got good jiu-jitsu, he's got good hands, and it's mainly I think about if he comes in fight shape. If he's not in fight shape, he'll lose. But if he comes in as the best Casseras possible, I think he's going to win. I think Hooper's really young. I think he's 20. I think he's too young to be at this level. I think this is not an easy fight for him, and I just think it's bad matchmaking by the UFC. I think they matched Sergio Pettis with Casseras when he was 20 as well, and he got subbed. So as soon as I seen this fight, I was thinking alarm bells for Hooper, because it's not. They could have eased him in a bit better. I know he was impressive that he got his debut, but I just think this is a really tough fight for him. So yeah, I'm going for the upset, and I'll definitely be putting some money on Casseras. But He needs to be at his best. We need the best Casseras, because if he doesn't turn up, he'll get beat.
And so this will be a good like test for Hooper to see really where he places in that division, because obviously Crone beat Casseras and then went on to fight Cub like the next fight, you know. So there's not much gap from where Casseras is and like a ranked guy. So if Hooper gets done here, they'll probably give him a 15 or a 14 next, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and he is that guy. He's not a gatekeeper, but he's kind of like an acid test. If you're lacking in one area, he'll be the guy to like exploit you, and he'll catch you out. If you're not fully ready, I think you'll get caught out. And Hooper, he's still a novice as well, he's also like he's one of the next stars, but it's very early and he's very young and he's fighting a veteran, but he's a veteran who's only 30. He's still in shape. He's got a variety of game. I've been watching him for years since he come through the Ultimate Fighter, and I think that's a really tough fight, and I'll be really impressed if Hooper comes through it, but I'm not picking him to.
For sure. So what other fights on the prelims did you want to touch on?
So the last one, and I don't know why, but I've been picking out people I think is going to cause upset, and I think Brian Kelleher is going to do it again. I think I really like Cody Stamann, but he's kind of like he had a couple of split decisions against like perennial guys, and then he lost to Sterling, and I just think he needs that big signature win over someone like Kelleher or someone just above Kelleher. And I don't think he's gonna get it. I've just got a feeling, or like me mind is telling me Stamann's gonna, he's gonna win and he's gonna dictate the fight, but I've just got a feeling Keller's gonna crack him and catch him and just get that win. So he's another one I'll be adding to me bet. What do you think?
I disagree. I think this is too big a jump in competition for Kelleher. He did have that win a couple of weeks back, I believe. It was 249 maybe. Yeah, he had that win recently, and he looked really good in that. But I think this is just too big a jump. I think, like you said, Stamann's going to be able to dictate the fight. If he wants to take it to the ground and hold him on the ground, he's going to do that. If he feels comfortable boxing with him, he's going to box with him. So I think this is Stamann's fight to win. He can do it however he wants, I think. I don't think there's any specific area where Kelleher is better than him at. Unless he gets caught like, by something wild, I can't see him losing this. So, I mean, I'm sure he's the underdog. What's the betting line like?
I think he is. He's an underdog. Like I can't remember what he is now, but he is an underdog. I think I priced it up when I was doing these two upset picks, and I think it was about 6-7 to 1.
Right.
So that it's good money. The Casseras pick for me is more in like I think that's a logical thing. That's a tough test for a 20-year-old. This one is more just a feeling. I do realize what you're saying. On paper, Stamann is a better fighter. He's beat better guys. He can dictate this fight if he wants to. But I just feel like Kelleher's on a bit of a roll, and he's confident. He's going to be flying, and I just feel like he's got the power to cause an upset. And if Stamann stands with him, it could happen. I wouldn't surprise me at all. But I do get what you're saying. It doesn't make as much sense as maybe picking Casseras, because Stamann is a beast. Like, I'm not taking anything away from him.
Anything can happen though, so you never know. Might make some money. Anyway, so I'll touch on one last fight on the early prelims, this is actually. When I was looking at this, I thought it was crazy. I thought this would at least been on the prelims, maybe in the featured prelim, possibly. And that's the matchup between José Formiga and Alex Perez, the number 4 and number 9 ranked flyweights in the world. And so this matchup, like, it's two high-ranked guys in their division, but it's on the early prelims. It just speaks volumes about where flyweight is as a division without any champion. It's just not really a division people watch. I mean, I've seen that poll on Twitter this week where people are like, which one's worse, the heavyweights or the flyweights? Which one do you enjoy watching less? And so I think this fight, it's a decent fight. It's not bad. I think Formiga has more ways to win on this one as well. I think on the feet he might be as good, maybe a little slicker. His grappling's definitely better. Perez has better wrestling, but I can't see him wanting to take this fight to the ground with Formiga. But to be honest, it's a pretty 50-50 fight. I wouldn't be able to make a pick on this one. If I had to make a pick, I'd take Formiga in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd take Formiga. I just think, as you were saying, it's right down the card, and it's right down the card because the UFC don't like the flyweights. Like in an ideal where the flyweights would have been gone a while ago, and then Henry pops up and starts doing his thing. So, um, that division is pretty like that division's pretty much dead in my opinion. It's just hopefully someone can pop up and save it because there is good fights in it. There is good fights. It's just not as deep as a lot of the other ones. I do pick Famiga. I think he's kind of similar to Asensio, where he's a really top guy and he kind of gets looked at as a gatekeeper, but he's not a gatekeeper. He's really top, and I expect him to, probably win this fight and maybe another one, and then he'd be the next in line for the title. That's what I'm expecting.
For sure. So was there anything else to do with the card you wanted to speak about before we wrap this up?
No, not in particular on this card. I think it's obviously it's a proper card. It's better than the what we've been like seeing the past few weeks, which has been good, and it's been great to have fighting back. But this is a proper, that main card is absolutely stacked, and then you've got a few good fights underneath it. So I'm happy. I can't wait for this one.
No worries. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll speak to you after fights to break down all the action.
Thanks, guys.